So she passed on in there. We watched her taking her last breath with her sister. So her sister was trying to bring her, kupepeta,
Yes.
crying and us saying, no,
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a very sad time for us. I was left with a lot of fear, actually. It left a hole. It's like a space. I don't know how to explain it. I'm praying like that fear goes away. We are told not to ask God why. Say there's a time I was bitter at him. I was like, it's rather she could have died when I was giving birth. Like that would have healed a long time ago. But not watching her grow, you've become friends, confidence, then she just goes. She was a go-getter. Throughout the painful journey, she used to say God is there.
Okay.
That was her mantra, the thing she kept saying.
This is Thika Town Today. My name is Juliet Modhoni. Thank you very much for tuning in. We have an amazing guest today, like we always do, who has an amazing story. She's an interior designer by profession, but most of all, she is a mother. She's going to give us her story, which is a story of hope, of resilience, and of grace. So welcome very much, and please let us know who you are.
Thank you very much. My name's Marianne Jambi. I'm a mother of two, and one is an angel, and then the other one is a 13-year-old. My firstborn was 20 years, but we buried her last year. And now my current daughter is 13 years. She's called Faith, and my firstborn was called Mubese. Okay, Mubese started falling sick when she was 15 years. I gave birth to her very normally, and she had a normal childhood. Then at 15 years, she had gone to a church camp. When she came back, she developed a cough. Then from there, it wasn't going. Then eventually we took action when she lost a lot of weight. That's when they did the sputum test and some x-rays, and they found that she has TB.
So for how long had you been treating before you found out it was TB that you were treating now?
Okay, we had just treated a cough, which took like 3 days.
Okay.
But the drugs took 7 days.
Okay.
So yeah, basically after she was done with the drugs, it didn't go away. So we started seeing other issues like losing weight most of the time.
Okay.
And loss of appetite. But the one that alarmed us mostly is the loss of weight, the drastic loss of weight.
Yes.
Yes.
So now you took the test and it
Yes.
was found out to be TB.
Yes.
So she was put on medication.
Yes.
How was that?
Okay, we started treating TB, which is usually treated for 6 months.
Okay.
She took drugs for 6 months, but
Okay.
after the 6 months, it didn't go away. They said it relapsed. So she took drugs again for 6 more months. That's like a total of 1 year.
And it was the same doctor that you had gone to initially, or did you
Yes.
change doctors?
No, we didn't change doctors because usually for TB treatment, you go to government hospitals because
Okay.
the TB treatment is free.
Okay.
So we used to go at a Kawangware center,
Okay.
which we continued
Yeah,
until
okay.
the 1 year.
Okay.
Yes.
So for 1 year, she was taking TB drugs,
Yes.
which should be taken for 6 months.
Yes.
So how did that affect her?
It affected her very badly because after the 1 year, we went for further tests. We were advised to get a chest specialist. Now she was diagnosed with aspergillosis, which is the damaged lungs. So her lungs got so many holes, meaning the TB drugs caused more damage. I think because of the extension of 6 more months. Yes.
So now we are talking about an year. So this
Yes.
means that she was not going to school, right?
Okay, she was in and out. Yeah, she was in and out, but mostly it was homeschooling. She couldn't go to a stable learning institution. Yes.
And for you as a mother, that means you had to be there for her.
Yes.
So you were not working. How were you managing?
Okay, I was working. I had an 8 to 5 job.
Okay.
But my sister used to chip in, like come to stay with her, then she goes back home. But I had to be there still because my sister also has a small baby. When she's out of school, she would go she was in kindergarten.
Okay.
So she used to get out of my place and go for her daughter. So I had to be there. But my performance was affected basically, and I got fired because obviously they expected. I was a salesperson, and my sales output was not as good as they expected. Yes.
So initially you were treating a cough.
Yes.
Then it was found out to be TB.
Yes.
How was that journey for you?
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Okay, the thing is,
Mm-hmm.
after the TB drugs, they were free.
Okay.
So we went from free treatment
Mm-hmm.
to now drugs that are expensive. And
Okay.
as I said, NHIF could not cover the drugs,
Mm.
and also the insurance declined her cover.
Mm.
So it meant digging deep into our pockets for cash.
Mm.
So basically, what came through, I used to be helped by the church came through a lot,
Okay.
and some individuals, mostly my sisters, because her drugs would cost like, let's say, 15 to 20,000 per week.
Okay.
And then we had to change her diet.
Okay.
She couldn't take starch.
Mm.
So those are things like, when you're sick,
Mm.
now basically there are other diseases like anemia.
Mm.
So she didn't have blood.
Mm-hmm.
She had diabetes. We started being told of other smaller diseases.
Yes.
So we had to buy things which are rich in iron,
Okay.
fiber.
Okay.
We had to change the diet, a strict diet.
Okay.
So all that could come maybe even, let's just say roughly like 30,000 per week.
Okay.
So the church came through.
Okay.
I would say the church was my strongest support.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And plus the few coins I used to make on my 8 to 5 job, that's how now I got drained. I had a few savings,
Yes.
and now plus the church.
Mm.
Yes.
And not forgetting you have another child who is in school.
Exactly.
Who still needs school fees and all that.
Yes.
Wow.
I must say, let me just mention, like for this second born, they're from different dads. So this second born, at least I'm thankful, at least the dad pays her school fees. So at least Apple, it's like a load lifted. But still I would cater for the rent, for the food. So yeah, but it was draining. I won't lie to you. Yes.
So now this is a whole year in and out of hospital.
Yes.
And she's not improving.
Exactly.
Then what happened next?
We had to continue. They told us the truth. They told us that it can't be treated. We were just managing it. So it's drugs every day. Now treating the aspergillosis, drugs every day for 5 years. Yes.
And how was this little girl now? She didn't have a social life.
Yes.
How was it for her?
It was draining her a lot, mentally especially, because she couldn't be with her friends. You know what a normal teenager would want to do.
Yes.
So she couldn't interact with her friends, stuff like that. I think she wouldn't do things like a normal teenager would do. Yes.
Okay, and her small sister was seeing all that was going on.
Yeah.
How was it affecting her mentally?
Mentally, she was disturbed because her performance in school was low also.
Okay.
I used to get calls like she's staring in class, she's not interacting with the other children. So it affected her very poorly because they had grown up to get together, best friends, mentor. So it really affected her in a negative way. Yes.
So I can imagine now she's weak. She's not able to do anything for herself.
Exactly.
So there has to be somebody at home with her all the time.
Exactly.
How was that for you?
It was not comfortable and I was not at peace. At the end of the day, because her body was very, very bad, she would if she wanted to do something, at the end of she was a go-getter, so she would try to do some things. So I used to get scared, like maybe she would fall or something, I get calls. So I wasn't at peace at all. Yeah, there's a time she fainted in the supermarket. Then I got a call. So it was just not peaceful. Let me just say that. Yes.
And when we were having a conversation earlier, you had mentioned that she even opted out of social media.
Yes.
What led to that?
Okay, there's a time a friend of her in Boxstar, she asked her, how come you're lost? We can't see you on social media. Then she told her, I'm sick, I can't walk. She's like, how can you suddenly not walk? So it affected her. She started thinking, because at the end of the day, the drugs made her weaker and weaker, and the nerves became weaker. So the nerves died, she would just lie down. The spinal cord also became weak, she couldn't sit. So we used to do everything for her. So she just said she can't be in social media at that time. She needed meditation, alone time, all that stuff.
I can only imagine. But I believe there's some people who used to come through for you.
Yes.
To help you out.
Yes.
Probably your friends.
Mostly it's my sisters, because I have 3 sisters here, and then the church. Those are the 2 main strength points that I had. Yes.
So take us through now the transition when now she became very weak until her unfortunate demise.
Yes. Okay, basically, okay, I can remember in October 2019, she turned 20.
Okay.
So we did a very good photo shoot. She was on steroids, so she looked very healthy. Eventually, those drugs are the ones which damaged her, because the drugs weaken the body system. So also in the same year, in December, we were in Nyali. We went to a friend's place to visit.
Okay.
That's when the real thing started happening. Like she would stand, then she falls, the legs fold. Then there was a time she had odema. Odema is the swelling of the legs.
Okay.
So they had to drain that water. After draining that water is when now the legs would weaken and just themselves they would fold, then she falls down. So it was very hectic. Then eventually she had to just sit to lie down on the chair. Basically, she couldn't do anything for herself. Only her hands were working.
Okay.
So she used to feed herself. But the washing and even she couldn't use the toilet, she was on Pampers. So, and then at the end of the day, the insurance declined her cover.
Okay.
So NHIF would only cover for X-ray and CT scan. So it was also financially draining, because she needed drugs every other week. Yes.
So all this was brought about by a cough,
Yes,
which was not diagnosed well.
exactly.
So initially, it was just a cough
That is it.
that you were treating.
Exactly.
But it brought all this.
Mm-hmm.
But by the time you were realizing it, it was too late.
It was too late.
She had already taken TB drugs for a while.
Yes.
Okay. So now, tell us about your daughter. When she started falling ill, I can imagine she started missing school.
Yes.
How was that?
I was expecting that, because in the first place we were mentally prepared by the chest specialist that her health is deteriorating. So she used to, today alcohol, tomorrow she's not. She would get affected. She would also lose breath. She was using an inhaler.
Okay.
Yeah, and then she would feel weak, she would feel dizzy, all those spells of sickness she experienced. So the time she fell out of school is when the drastic weight loss. But there's a time she was not she was underweight, then the stigma she got.
Okay.
Yeah, people are like, do you have HIV? You know, such things. Do you have cancer? Like, people don't know there are so many diseases that can make you lose weight. So she had to drop out, but not because of the stigma, because I used to encourage her. I tell her she has a bright future. In fact, I used to tell her she's the job of her generation. Maybe God took it in another way. I don't know. That one I will never understand, but I'm praying that God shows me, like explains to me all this, because we are told not to ask God why. Because I must say there's a time I was bitter at him. I was like, it's rather she could have died when I was giving birth. Like, that would have healed a long time ago. But not watching her grow, you've become friends, confidence, then she just goes. But yeah, that's the journey we went through. Then another thing, like, helped her heal. She was healing. Then another point she's sick, but she used to get strength from her friends also from church. They visited her at a point, they prayed with her, they fellowshipped with her. Then there's a time she used to go to Wendo, it's a retreat center. Every time she was a bit well, she used to go there, because she used to say that she used to see God and she used to find peace in that place. So those things, like, I would say they sustained her to live longer. But at the end of the day, she went. But those are the things that kept her going. Yes. Yeah.
So she used to try and do normal things that people her age are doing.
Yes. I remember that she used to be a very good cook. She used to love cooking. She used to tell me to buy ingredients. She used to love cooking, dressing well. Because I must say she was of Congolese native, so she had their blood of dressing. Yeah, so basically, she was a normal child. She used to talk well. At least she wasn't a mental retard. At least she would say how she feels. Yeah, so I appreciate the small things. Yes, yeah.
Now the transition when now she passed on, who came on board to help you now to lay her to rest?
Oh, I forgot to mention, when she was passing, I had to move in with my sister.
Okay.
Because even in the previous house, we had arrears, rent arrears.
Okay.
So I wouldn't want all that energy to again, because she used to get affected by small things. I used to even to tell her, like, you're not Jesus. Jesus, dear, he carried our burdens. So stop
Yes.
overthinking.
Sure.
So anyway, we had to move from our house and stay with my sister, who
Yes.
used to assist me.
Okay.
So when she passed on, my sister was also present.
Yeah. Her passing on, was she admitted in hospital?
No, she was actually in the house because we were told she couldn't be like in hospital. There's nothing they could do actually because an operation would not help. Her oxygen levels were very low. She would even pass away during the operation. So we were advised she takes medication. And at the end of the day, she also refused to go to hospital to be admitted. So it's like she knew. So she passed on in the house at 6 a.m. It was on a Wednesday, March 2020, 25th. Yeah. We watched her taking her last breath with her sister. So her sister was trying to bring air, kupepeta,
Yes.
crying and us saying, no,
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a very sad time for us.
Yes.
So the process from passing on is now getting, in fact, we had to call an ambulance because she had a little hope, like she's not gone.
Okay.
There was some few palpitations, whatever.
Yes.
They're called was pulse, her pulse rate was not flat.
Okay.
So when we called the ambulance, he tried to resuscitate her, but in vain. Obviously, it didn't work.
Okay.
So the process was after the ambulance, we had to get a letter. Is it a permit, a death permit from the police station?
Yeah.
She went to get it. After getting the death permit, that's when now the HEAS came to collect her from the house
Yes.
to the morgue.
Yeah.
It was in Kikuyu because we were staying within gardens.
Okay.
So after that process, she stayed in the morgue from Wednesday. We buried her on a Saturday.
Okay.
So the funeral arrangements were smooth because also the church still came through.
Okay.
Yeah, basically the church held my hand until like everything was done.
Okay.
They paid for the grounds, they paid for the coffin, a few contributions here and there, but the church did most of the work.
So now tell us, how has the journey been since the demise of your daughter?
Okay, there's a time I used to have a lot of fear. Actually, I used to go and check if my daughter is breathing. Now, the 13-year-old, I was left with a lot of fear, actually. So most of the times I go check on her, we talk, because there's a time we used to talk about death a lot with her. Then we're like, how do you take it? Then she used to tell me her prayer is, we either die together or God comes back and takes both of us. Because none of us can bear it, It left a hole. It's like a space. I don't know how to explain it. But our prayer is just like not to watch each other going. But it left a big fear. I'm praying like that fear goes away. Because you check, like if she hasn't come from school like by 6:30, I start panicking. And then even in school, when I see the teacher calling, I'm like, now what? It left a lot of fear, but I'm praying that fear goes away because fear can really block a lot of blessings. Yeah, and it comes from the devil. So I'm praying that he doesn't take over. Yeah.
Your other daughter is seeing all this that is happening.
Yes.
You are with her also. Now you're on holiday. You're probably
Yes.
not enjoying yourself that much.
Exactly.
As a parent, how do you keep your head up?
Mostly it's distractions. Just find something to do. Like let her play, let her swim. Okay, lucky enough she had an age mate there. The ones we had gone to visit had an age mate. So she used to spend most of the time with the age mate. So I was focusing now on my older daughter. I would hold her, walk with her. But actually we didn't enjoy, and herself she didn't enjoy. Because when we went even to the beach, she'd just sit and water would like. But I wanted her to feel that water flowing, Yeah, so basically it was a sad time, but at the end of the day, it's like cherishing the moments.
Yes. It's true. And
Yes.
as a parent, I can only imagine
Yes.
what you had been going through.
Exactly. Yes.
So I think now it's an year since you buried your daughter. How long has it been?
It has been a year, actually. We also visited her grave, which we are learning to. We were a bit peaceful. At least we saw the grave. then we knew. I told my small daughter, now she's not even there.
Okay.
So it's just a way of just like, it's a routine to
Okay.
visit, but we know we are not visiting her. It's just where she was buried,
Mm.
but her spirit is elsewhere.
Mm.
Yes.
And how have you been adjusting through that a whole year without her?
It's been not very easy. I wouldn't say it's easy. That would be a lie to say it's easy.
Okay.
But what encourages me is that I see her in this small daughter.
Okay.
Sometimes she talks like her. I don't know if I'm imagining things, but yeah, I see her in her, because even some behaviors, you see, like that's what my older daughter would do.
Okay.
Yeah, and then she left a good memory. At least I would say I don't have nightmares.
Yeah.
Because even we still have the chair where she passed on.
Okay.
So there are no bad spirits.
Yes.
So we are at peace.
Yes.
And we would know she would want us happy and
Mm.
peaceful.
Mm.
That's what's keeping us.
Mm.
Yes.
That is awesome.
Yes.
It's a wonderful story. It's an
Thank you.
inspiring story to see
Yes.
that you've been through all that and you still
Exactly.
have the grace to carry on.
Ye- Yes.
I can imagine you've been now in and out of hospital.
Yes.
Uh, you've seen all that happens.
Yes.
What would you advise somebody who's probably been treating something for a while? How long do you think it should take before now you see red flags?
I think the fact, like, don't even ignore a cough. First of all, don't ignore anything. Get treated, and avoid buying drugs from the pharmacy or chemist. Unless you feel like it's just a cold, you just buy flu or or these small things. But when it alarms you, we always have these instincts.
Okay.
But when it's something big, just go to hospital and let the doctor check you. Yes.
But one thing is for sure, you did a great job as a mother,
Oh, thank
and
you
you
so
did your
much.
best.
Yes.
And we thank God that you are at peace.
Thank you.
And thank you very much for coming to share your story.
Thank you too.
What encouragement would you like to give another mother out there who's probably going through the same?
I would also say, because I remember my daughter thanking me, when you're doing something, do it with a clean heart. She always reminded me, Mom, I'm grateful for you, and I'm my favorite parent. So she was grateful. I think that's one of the things of healing. The other thing is knowing that you're also headed there, and cherish every moment. Love the ones around you. Say what you need to say. And life doesn't dictate how we live. It's God that dictates.
Sure.
And you might have plans, but put God first. Ask Him and tell Him to take over. Yes.
We thank God that He's been able to give you the grace to
Yeah.
move on. So what keeps you going?
I think it's this other daughter. And knowing, like, my first one used to believe in God every time, because
Okay.
even throughout the painful journey,
Yes.
she used to say God is there.
Okay.
That was her mantra, the thing she kept saying.
Okay.
So I was like, oh, if she's not complaining, why would I?
Yes.
So she was ready.
Yes.
Like, there's a time a pastor came visiting in our house. She
Yes.
prayed for her.
Yes.
Then she said, she's seeing God. God is there with her on that chair.
Okay.
So that was very deep. It's like, I think the journey was just godly for her. And at the same time, this small daughter encourages me. She also believes in God. She says positive things.
Yes.
Like, God chose her because she's strong. Stuff like that.
Sure.
Yeah, so we have to keep giving ourselves some positive energy.
Yes.
Yes.
You had also mentioned that you had gotten her into some modeling.
Yes.
That is when she was still ill.
No, for her, yes, she had joined a modeling school, but she didn't like it very much. It was a catwalk, but those were some forms of distraction. But her, she was into poetry.
Yes.
And she wanted to be a TB ambassador, but unfortunately,
Yes.
because she couldn't have wanted anyone else to go through what she was going through.
Yes.
And then the other modeling was for this little one also. I used to take her for pageants, for training.
Yes.
And then we started TikTok, all these kinds of distractions.
Oh, you started TikTok?
Yeah, just for her. We spent time dancing there. Remember, it was the corona time. Everybody's
Yes.
confined in one area.
Yes.
So we just had to find something to keep us busy and distracted. Yes.
And I think it did well.
Yes, it did.
It helped you to pass time.
Yes, it did in a big way.
What can you say you have learned through this whole process?
I've just learned that, first of all, it's a transition, and we are all headed there. And then I also learned I'm a stewardess. My work was to take care of her. It's like a caretaker.
Okay.
So when God decides to take, he will take. Because he's the one who lends us these children in the first place.
Sure.
So it was his time to take her. So, and then at the same time, I've learned to accept.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not bitter anymore. I don't have any questions, but just to accept.
Yes.
Because her, she was wanted to be a TB ambassador, but it
Yes.
wasn't God's plan. Yes.
And now, personally, Marianne as a person,
Yes.
what are you doing with yourself now to cope with all this?
Yes. Basically, I love being my own happiness. Okay, I'm focusing on the modeling, of course. If I get calls, I'm very grateful. There's some fashion houses which are consistent, but some went quiet. So I'm praying that I get more calls from fashion houses. Then another thing is I love doing TikTok, just being myself, letting go, dancing a little, singing. I love singing also. I'm also an interior designer, and I did some schooling I did some I went to college for education to learn ECD, but Montessori, that's British system. So I'm working on me now, building myself, and I was also working on building a brand so that I can be called for also hosting events. I can do so much so that I build now this daughter remaining her future. I can show her like there's so much we need to do together. I usually call us a power duo because we do things. There's a photo shoot we did together, mother and daughter, and now like I'm saying the TikTok, she also sings. So I pray God like to give us that grace to like to achieve our dreams, the desires of our heart, so that she can do her talents. She can sing, she can dance, she can model, she can act. So I want to build her as a person also. Yes. Yeah.
And you're doing a great job as a mother.
Thank
I
you
must
so
say.
much. I'm humbled so much.
Yes.
Yes.
So you do modeling as well yourself?
Yes, I do.
Tell us more about that.
I'm a plus size model,
Okay.
and it all came about because I couldn't handle the 8 to 5 jobs.
Okay.
So I wanted something that I would have some time to spend with my sick daughter at that time and my small one. So I got into modeling. It just started as a joke. I inboxed a fashion house. I used their pictures to advertise myself. So from that time, I've been doing plus size modeling for fashion houses. But at this time, it's not as consistent. So yeah, basically I'm looking at that. And then I started a fashion house, which is what I'm working on.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if there's
basically.
somebody out there who would like you to model, how can they find you on social media?
Okay, I'm on Instagram and I'm Jams42.
Oh.
Just visit my Instagram. It's Jams42. Jams42 is NJAMBS 42.
Thank you very much for making time to come here and
Yes.
to share your story with us. We
Alright.
hope that you have encouraged somebody else out there who is going through the same.
Thank you.
We hope that we have been able to encourage somebody out there who is also going through the same. Don't lose hope. It's always a better day ahead. So put God first, give people flowers when they are alive. Thank you very much for tuning in. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up. At the bottom of your screen, there's a bell, there's a notification bell there that you can press so that every other time we bring you these updates, you are kept in the know.